our third week of presentations here in the BNB Chain and Infium Founders Academy. We're delighted to continue the marketing discussions this week. We have the usage of NFTs and community creation tools, for marketing purposes, discussion today as well, as we know that marketing is extremely important in our space. So we have Ed Clementis, who was on the founding team of the OpenSea, where he managed the community management areas there. And then he left after a few years as, they experienced growth from maybe 15 people to, I don't know, a couple hundred, few hundred. He'll tell us a little bit more about it. So he was there through that whole growth of the community and growth of OpenSea, which is really great. And then we have Sarah joining us right after. She actually owns an NFT launchpad for games, Sarah Austin. Yeah, so she's unable to join us at the moment, but we will try to get her in, Alan and I. And with that, Ed, you and I are going to start a chat. Can you kind of put in perspective what was it like at OpenSea when you started and how that growth happened, and maybe walk us through some marketing things that worked for the growth purposes and maybe some marketing things that are not working for that growth purposes.
Sure. OpenSea had a big advantage over a lot of the other marketplaces in that they started so early. They really launched almost immediately after CryptoKitties back in 2017. So that definitely gave them a huge leg up in the space. Just in essence, just being in the space for so long. Um, I used OpenSea for years before the NFT space actually exploded and they started to grow and they started to really become a big influence in the space. And a big part of that was COVID as well. Once COVID hit, a lot of artists, traditional artists, started looking for new avenues to get their work out there since physical galleries were no longer an option for a lot of artists. And so, yeah, it was 2021 was when the space really started to go viral and really started to grow by leaps and bounds. And that's when I joined the OpenSea team. And yeah, I was employee like number 14 or 15 at the time. And so it was a really exciting and interesting time to be in the space, to see all of these new people come in that weren't necessarily crypto savvy. So a lot of my job, even though it was my title was community manager, a lot of it was just support and helping these new users understand crypto, uh, research their transactions, explaining why they had to pay gas in this case and why not in this case, and so on. And I think there's still a lot of that because we're still seeing a lot of new users coming into the space who are experimenting with the technology, and some of them need their hands held. But once they get over that initial hump, many of them really take to the space, extremely well. I've onboarded a lot of artists at OpenSea, and many of them were brand new to crypto and had struggled, to understand how it all worked and why they were running into issues on the platform or off the platform. Um, but some of them, are very successful in the space now and are leaders themselves and are onboarding new artists themselves all the time. So yeah, like I said, it was a really exciting time seeing that huge growth, and now it's quieter during this bear market. Well, everybody's kind of settled down and realized like, well, maybe it wasn't the wisest thing to believe that it was going to go up forever. But there's still a lot of people coming into the space and attending these conferences, like where you and I met, Mariana, in Vegas and East Denver, which I just came back from. You can still see the energy and the dynamism behind in the space and the developers and creators and just pioneers still working very hard to move this space forward. So once things start to turn around again, and we start to see another upswing, I think we'll see a resurgence of people coming back into the space.
Yeah, so it's interesting that so you were there very early on and sort of the Beeple sale happened, and that you think drove the community development surrounding OpenSea. But even so, how did people get into Discord channel of all things? Why was that, the be all? Because we had some major issues with Discord that were discussed last week, and we want to know from you, like, it worked. Why did it work?
Yeah, I joined Discord from CryptoKitties. That was my first real exposure to NFTs, even though I'd been following crypto for a while. Um, it wasn't until I also ran across an article that mentioned like a $20,000 CryptoKitty sale. It was like one of the highest at the time, and it was made some waves. And up until that point, NFTs, even though I had known about them, I hadn't really given them much thought. And then when I came across that article, I was like, well, let me check out CryptoKitties. And then um, and then from there, like, okay, they've got a community. There's activity going on off the site where people are talking about this, and it's happening on Discord. And that was when I joined Discord, set up my profile. Like, okay, how does this work? And that was around the time where it started transitioning from like, primarily just gamers to other types of online activity. And yeah, the NFT space, crypto space, just really embraced Discord as a platform for communicating and sharing announcements as well as sharing discussions. So, yeah, even though it's got its own security problems and security issues, but just like other social media platforms, when you allow this level of anonymity, you also kind of open up the door to impersonation as well. And so this security issues is more of a social media problem than it is really a Discord problem. We saw the same thing on Twitter with the fake accounts getting verified check marks. Some of these verified accounts getting sold or bought, or and so on. And Twitter has tried different things as far as introducing new levels of verification and new types of verification, um, and even on the NFT platforms. OpenSea had that as well. Like certain collections got verified, and then they changed the nomenclature to okay, they're not necessarily verified, but they have a badge that signifies that they've at least reached this level of legitimacy. So we're seeing that across all types of platforms, and for all of its uh, drawbacks and shortcomings, Discord is still very popular within the space, and it's still kind of the default social media platform for communities to gather.
But yet, when we talked about it, even in Vegas, which was like what, like early fall last year, you said that the Discord channel, even at the height of what was the OpenSea, you know, population on Discord? Did it hit few million?
Well, I think Discord has a cap of 250,000, something like that. And OpenSea hit that, even while I was still there. And so I left back in July. Um, so, yeah, and they would just periodically go through and clear out all the bots, clear out any accounts that hadn't been active, in a certain amount of time, and free up some space so that new users could join. But it would quickly fill up again, and you quickly hit that cap again. So I believe 250,000 is the cap right now at Discord in the Discord server, and OpenSea is constantly pushing up against that cap.
Okay, and then basically you were, um, you said that even at that cap, there were only about 1,000 or so active users. So what does that mean, really? Like, how does that translate into activity?
Right. So um, many projects and websites will use Discord as opposed to a blog or They will share their announcement that they make on Twitter or on Facebook. They'll share it in Discord. So many people join a Discord server just to keep up with those announcements. And they'll come back and check the announcements when they get a notification that there's a new one in a Discord server that they belong to. One of the issues with Discord is that once it gets so big where you've got 1,000 people in there at once, all trying to carry on conversations, it's becomes very difficult to stay on top of a conversation. You can turn your head and then look back, and there's 10 new comments in the thread, and you've lost the trace of the thread. You've lost the conversation. And okay, where is everybody now? Let alone, going to sleep and then waking up, and there's pages and pages and pages of conversation that you've missed out on. So even some of the other discords that I've been in, going back to 27, 2018, I went from CryptoKitties into Axie Infinity. And I spent a lot of 2018, 2019 hanging out in the Axie Infinity Discord. And it was almost like a golden era during that time because it was kind of slow. There wasn't a whole lot going on in the space. It was very reminiscent of what's going on right now, where the most active people in the space were really building tools and products. And they weren't really so many flashy articles about the price. But then when Axie Infinity did go viral, when some articles came out about, the families in the Philippines or Indonesia supporting themselves by playing Axie Infinity and selling the tokens, we saw a huge influx of players into the Discord, and it grew really quickly. And they also hit that $250,000, I'm sorry, 250,000 member cap. And I remember when they first hit like 100,000, they had to go to Discord to get it increased, and then they had to go again to get it increased again, and so on until they finally reached that point where it had grown as quickly as they could. And during that time, while the Discord was growing, a lot of us who had been there from the beginning moved from like the general channels into like some of the bot channels or some of the less frequented channels, and we'd hang out in there because there's a lot less noise, and we weren't constantly being interrupted by these new users asking the same questions over and over again. And we had like a little inside joke that anyone who had been there longer than a year knew that general was for the newbies, and those of us who had been around longer hung out in this other lesser known channel within the Discord. And so yeah, I think that's again just always going to be a challenge for Discord until they come up with some way to organize it a little bit better so that you can um, carry on a conversation with other people while there's also many other conversations going all around you. I haven't spent a whole lot of time in Discord lately, but I do know they introduced that one feature with forum type threads, so I'm kind of interested to see how that plays out and if that helps with the issue.
So, Adrian's not here today, but she's spent a lot of time launching different NFT projects, games projects, etc. And it's been an OG for like you. She's been in it for a long time, and she said that the problem with Discord that she's finding with all of the basically all of the different issues are that you really don't know who is in that Discord channel. And as a marketer of product or a service, whether it's Axie Infinity or one of our NFT drops or metaverse launches that we need to do from this academy, you don't know who these people are. It's hard to market to them unless you go through that Discord channel. It's hard to engage them on that Discord channel. It's hard to know if they're engaged. It just goes on and on. So did you find, like, did this even matter to OpenSea or Element Market or one of these companies you're working for? Were they trying to create sort of, old-fashioned marketing mailing list of some sort?
And not through Discord. I think a lot of the tried and true, more traditional methods are still work to that extent, where you have a newsletter going out, you can accumulate emails that way. Um, yeah, reaching out to um, other artists and influencers in the space. One of the nice things about Web3 and crypto and NFTs is that there are a lot of people who are willing to collaborate or cooperate within the space. So I know, especially at Element, we partnered with a lot of up and coming projects to help boost each other. Like, okay, if you've got this new project that sounds interesting, but you're new to the space, if you can, help promote Element, we'll help promote you. We'll help do some giveaways in the Discord and so on. Um, yeah, I think Discord hasn't really been a focus for a lot of the big projects in the NFT space as far as marketing towards your own users. Because once they've joined your Discord, they've most likely already created a profile on your platform. They're already somewhat familiar with how it works. They've come to Discord either because they have a support question or they want to see who else is involved in the community, who else is using this platform, and what are they talking about. And when it comes to like NFT marketplaces, uh, a lot of users move into Discord to look for that alpha, that information that may come out first in the conversation on Discord, uh, where even though it is still pretty public and a lot of conversations are seen by everyone in that Discord, it is still a little bit more um, familiar than Twitter, where on Twitter anyone can see the tweet, and all you have to do is retweet it, and all of your followers, whether or not they belong to that community, also see this information. In Discord, it's a little bit more close knit in the sense that any information that's coming out within this Discord is probably just going to be seen by, your community. So, yeah, a lot of members join just for that reason to see, like, okay, I know this particular project, in their Discord, they discuss other projects and they discuss um, new features of their project or new additions that they're going to be launching, and they want to be first to find out about it because things move so quickly in the space. And a lot of the traders of NFTs are trying to take advantage of those narrow windows of opportunity that exist for making a quick profit.
So you're saying you have to build your website and your, page, your landing page first, and you have to. I think that's what Adrian was arguing for as well. You have to, drive traffic to your landing page of some sort in order to get all the data about your users if you're going to have any sort of relationship with them, including just an NFT drop, because otherwise you don't know who they are. And then you can send them to Discord, but it's sort of like an ancillary step versus like must be on Discord to have a community. That's how you drop the NFTs. And then what? That's kind of then you're trying to track, even if you promise something in that NFT drop that's utility driven and you have just a Discord community, you're out of luck because you can't necessarily provide the utility effectively.
Right. And then there are the security issues as well. I've known several projects that once they're ready to launch, close down their Discord just to eliminate any possibility of fake links being circulated within it. So when they're ready to launch, they'll shut down their Discord to make sure that their followers and their members aren't getting any misinformation during that time, and then they'll open it up again afterwards.
Yeah, so just doing the mint itself is challenging enough, of a process. I've seen projects that we showcased at Infium that ended up having a very difficult mint, that need to be redone kind of a process. So there's a lot going on there. And then you're building this community as well in order to have the drop. And then you have to still build the website. And to build a website and you're still using like old Web2 social media to drive the traffic into your website, to drive the traffic into your Discord and your Mint. And then you have to worry about the security. So it's quite complicated.
Yeah, yeah, and I've seen mints and drops where they've run into technical issues, and and the best ones will have at least one representative of the team in the Discord, just kind of reassuring everyone, like, hey, we realize that this was an issue and we're working on it. We're trying to get it fixed. Please be patient with us. So, yeah, if you've got your Discord open while you're minting and then there is an issue like that, then you have to deal with all of those users who are either upset because they've lost out on gas because they spent more than they should have to try and mint and it didn't work, or they're trying to minting and they're worried that they're going to miss out because they haven't been able to mint and they think that other people are minting while they're stuck having this technical issue. So yeah, if you've got the Discord open and you're trying to fix a problem, you've got this huge distraction of all these users like, what's happening? What's going on? Why isn't it fixed yet?
Yeah, so when we were sending the applications for the, in BNB Chain and Infium Founders Academy to, the Twitter account that BNB Chain has like 2.9 million plus followers. So it's much bigger than the Discord opportunity, which is 250, like order of magnitude bigger, right? And so we were very, very careful about every piece of material that we were sending out and explaining what it is and how it's done and what the selection process was. And, we had very talented people on both sides reviewing everything, but the FUD is very real and it takes off immediately. So, you know, you have to kind of manage the FUD opportunity, right? And how do you even do that with Discord?
Yeah, and that can be an issue too. I've seen many members get kicked out of a Discord or muted in Discord and immediately run to other social media platforms saying like, "Oh, they're censoring me because I said this or that against." Yeah, it's definitely challenging and can easily spiral out of control if you've got a handful of users who are fudding and who are yeah, spreading misinformation.
And you have to sort of anticipate the FUD. So I'm going to bring Iceberg. Sarah, unfortunately, can't join us because of some technical difficulties with Zoom. We'll have to have her at a later date. But we have Iceberg from her team. They have an NFT launch pad for NFT and games projects. So you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the company, and then we'll continue chat with all of you guys.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Mariana. I hope you guys can hear me. So, hi, my name is Sarvesh. Sorry for having my game tag here. This was a last minute hop on for me. But yeah, I am Sarvesh. I head marketing at Q Globe. We are a token based launchpad wherein we provide in-game initial game offering as a service for a lot of developing games and Web3 game studios who are looking out there to go public with their game offerings and their initial asset sales. So what we allow is we allow game builders to build their economy through their community as a whole. And as I was following the conversation that we had here, Discord has been a key part of our journey, building that community of passionate game developers and people who would want to see these games in live. So since a lot of our token sales or IGO sales comes from the community itself, we've been using a lot of Discord ourselves to promote a lot of our projects.
And in terms of your projects, I think Sarah mentioned that some of the projects did very well. Like maybe there was like a $4 million one, or is like what is the size of these NFT launches?
Sure. So our total lifetime sales for the complete launchpad so far has been upwards of 800 million. A few of the key, I would say, collaborations that we have done so far. The first which I would always like to talk about is the one which we have done with Frank Mueller and Binance Chain itself, wherein we launched an tokenized watch which was created by Frank Mueller for Binance, and this watch could be purchased as a NFT as well as a real life item. The second biggest campaign that we have done throughout our campaign history is the Dolce Gabbana NFT drop, wherein we had tokenized dresses created by Dolce Gabbana, which were showcased across the select stores globally. and all of these items were purchasable as NFTs. So a lot of our focus initially has been on creating a lot of NFTs with real life utilities. But then, as we saw the gaming market grow tremendously across the last, I would say, few months initially, we have started to shift our focus towards, I would say, supporting a lot of more game launches, because we do feel Web3 gaming space as a whole is going to transition a whole new age of, I would say, casual or consumer gaming for a lot of us.
And so would you say out of all the games that you're launching, within this last year, with your focus on that, are mostly these play to earn games, or are these just variety of different types of games in Web3?
So play to earn model was quite, I would say, outgoing and trending in 21, 22. But right now we have been seeing a lot of, I would say, just creator-led games. We have been seeing a lot of influencers create their own games, and these games are very casual in nature, wherein the complete value proposition is defined by the game assets that these artists have created. So a lot of the gaming market right now is still, I would say, riding on the back of the traditional NFT market, wherein you have a lot of these projects who are now kind of launching their own smaller IPs as a part of the Web3 games, and increasing the overall token or NFT utility. So right now, if you've seen, Dookie Dash is doing quite well. It's a subsidiary utility for the BAYC club. So we do see a lot of such smaller IPs coming across. And as we have seen, a lot of our partners and publishers have raised a good amount of, I would say, token sales or NFT sales through this method. So we do see creator-led economy or a community-centric economy taking a leap over the play to earn, because play to earn, you're incentivizing a lot in one in the first initial attempt, and the user doesn't really have much of retention to come back, which is why even a lot of times our Discord servers were like filled with accounts which just came once for the giveaway and they never really bought it again. Hey, Alan, you have to add something?
Yeah. I wanted to ask both you and Edward just a more general question. We're seeing NFTs sort of for, unique high-end artwork, or as you said, some collectible items. You even have luxury makers like Dolce and Gabbana. But do you or Edward see a use case for NFTs for like everyday items, or not everyday items, but items that are not so unique, not items that are not so so one of a kind, or limited in value, limited in quantity, but maybe something that's a lot that's unique but fungible, right? There's a lot artwork is sort of not fungible, but do you see a use case for fungible items that are still unique?
Uh, I pretty much do see a very basic generic use of NFTs, because when I think of NFT as an overall concept, I would look it as an instrument of transaction as well. So anything that is backed off a receipt can be converted into something as good as an NFT. So something that is very unique, generic in day-to-day life that I see moving on to an NFT based smart contract pretty soon are your memberships, your club memberships, like something as exclusive as a Soho House, which has its facilities across different metro cities of the globe, could pretty much have an revenue model where they see shifting the membership to an NFT based format, or somewhere uh, something like an Amex could launch its own credit card club alongside an NFT line. So anything that you see which is unique and can be differentiated using a basic receipt or a proof of purchase is pretty much liable to be tokenized or incentivized as NFT. So the basic classic example which I have seen of adoption recently is the California DMV using Tezos as an NFT based chain for doing a lot of their DMV work and the registration licenses.
Yes, I totally agree. There's going to be so many industries that are disrupted by this technology. You'll see NFTs start to pop up all over the place. There's a company called Travel X, I believe it's based in Argentina, that is now partnering with airlines to sell their plane tickets as NFTs. So then you can purchase your plane ticket and then resell it to someone else up to 72 hours before your flight. Um, so yeah, and we'll see, I think, similar instances with things like Gary Vee's um, NFT project, where it gives you the ability, holding the NFT gives you the ability to make a reservation in a high-end restaurant. Um, I've seen, several projects try to break into the real estate industry using NFTs, things of that nature. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of industries disrupted by this tech, and many use cases that no one's even thought of yet.
It's really exciting. Thank you, Alan. So in terms of some of the projects that we have here in the Founders Academy, maybe as you guys sit back and having spent so many years dealing with this, right? Obviously, to get to 800 million, it's been a few years, and OpenSea has been around for a few years, and CryptoKitties for sure. So as you look at what's happened and where we are today, if you were to launch an NFT drop, I mean, Lennox, I don't think is here today, but he's working on one as we speak. It's a financial service product that allows you to invest in top 10 cryptocurrencies by market size. But they're going to have an NFT where you can have a lifetime account, for example. And we have some metaverse projects and some, that are basically also launching through some NFT drops. If you were to sit back here and say, Mariana, here is like the 5 most important things you need to think about to do a successful NFT drop, and maybe you should not do one, unless you're this kind of a company. Like, what would your advice be there?
First off, I would say to make sure you're familiar and to keep up to date with what's going on right now with the SEC and regulations and possibly new regulations that are going to come out because of everything that's happened recently with FTX and other um, organizations and projects within the space. It's uh, a lot of people tend to think that crypto is the Wild West in the sense that none of the old rules apply. But, especially if you're based in the United States, a lot of the old rules still apply. And so you've got to make sure that you're operating um, in such a way that you're not going to be shut down by a regulatory agency, or that your users aren't going to be suddenly told that, oh, we know we promised you this, but it turns out we can't actually do that legally. I didn't mean to interrupt. I didn't know if you were going to say anything else last word.
Yeah, sure. Regulation is definitely an issue, especially in the US.
Yeah, and more than regulations, I feel having the right kind of partners as well, because even before you start building your a landing page, your website, you'd need to, I would say, have a complete flow chart of your user journey, how your user is going to start interacting with your platform, how is he buying your first NFT, and keeping in mind both the converting user as well as the standard super user. The super user is a person who already has your exchange account, who is already having a MetaMask account, who's already connected on Discord. But then there's also going to be the non-endemic user who's going to be the first time NFT buyer of your project. So keeping in that customer in mind is also quite important, and making sure you have the right on-ramp and off-ramp partners, because again, as Edward said, regulations and compliances are the key to having pretty solid and steady growth in the scene.
Yeah, you also want to be cautious. So sorry about who you bring on to help promote your project. A lot of these influencers, it may come out later that they've been associated with a project that ended up having what they call a rug pull, where they never followed through, or they may have made some unsavory comments on social media that you don't want associated with your brand. So yeah, it's important also to make sure you know exactly who you're bringing on board to help market and promote your project. And then going back to what you said about knowing your audience, yeah, I personally think that's one of the areas where OpenSea has stumbled recently. Um, they forgot, I think, that they do have these two audiences really that make up the majority of their users there. The tech savvy traders who program bots to do all their trading, and they aren't really that interested in the art itself or the issues that are close to the artists. And then there's the other section of their market, which is the artists and the creators and those who are very passionate about some of the ideals behind the blockchain technology and some of the decisions that OpenSea has made. Recently, I think they were only focusing on one half of their audience and neglecting the other. And unfortunately, they neglected the half that is very vocal on social media. And so they got a lot of negative feedback when they made some of these decisions recently. Yeah, because they forgot about that other half of their market.
Yeah, and so far, I think you guys have done a great job saying, the market is shifting very quickly, right? And you could not, go wrong by putting your NFT on OpenSea like a year ago, right? So, and now it's a problem. There's a whole host of problems associated with OpenSea, issue of being stolen and or mismanaged, being probably in the forefront of your issues there. But we worked with so many different NFT launch platforms with a crypto art agency last year. We did, crypto art agency owns 95 works of sci-fi art. They were in, Big Bang Theory hanging on the wall. The Getty Images has been, kind of placing it within film and television business. So they're from major books in science fiction, et cetera. So we did a bunch of drops, and Known Origin did a very good job for us, and they had millions and millions of users, but now they've been acquired by eBay. And so we're all blocked by eBay's CTO trying to deploy Web3, right? And then Wax was even better than Known Origin because they had literally a full scale social media marketing campaign behind each one of the drops. And then they decided, just like you guys did, that they're going to be focused on gaming and NFTs inside games, mostly developed internally. So the market shrunk. It's not that easy to find a platform. How do you go about selecting the right platform today after all these things happen, in a 6-month period?
So selecting the right platform for us was in regards to the long-term utility. Whenever you start a project, you need to determine the long-term utility of the project and what chain or building on what layer would be more beneficial to you. And this decision could be based on your geography, could be based on the amount you're willing to spend on the project. So it's very costly to build on Ethereum directly. But due to the massive adoption that we've had a lot of ecosystems come up as standalone chains. We have a lot of aggregators who are partnering with existing chains. So right now, launching an NFT project on Polygon or Binance is pretty much a 2-day task compared to what it was like, compared to a 3-week task earlier in 2020 or 2021. So I would say individually for every project, the due diligence and the research phase is really crucial. You need to determine what partner, what launchpad aggregator, or even a chain partner is going to bring into the table when you partner with them. What is the long-term utility of what they bring in, and how easily can you scale your project up in the ecosystem that you're going to migrate to? And this is a very hard decision. We've had like the entire project design in some cases, sorry, and we've had to decide the chain pretty last minute, and it would be somewhere like 1 week prior launch as well. So it's quite normal to be confused, but then as and when you talk to people, you talk to industry stakeholders, I would say keep communicating with people along. It helps you make your decision better.
So Polygon and BNB chain at the moment sort of provide the best opportunity for NFT launches because of the pricing structures and also the level of development of the technology support on these. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, and adding to that, it's not just the level of technology that they have, but it's the massive respect for their customers. These brands are very loyal to their customers, and they have always been diligent in solving problems, errors, and hacks. So there hasn't been much of a threat to these ecosystems. And even if there is a threat, it's easily dissolved by the PR team or by the marketing team or their internal development structure. And customer support is another key aspect of having a very stable and successful NFT sale. So managing that smooth after like post acquisition journey for the customer is also crucial. So selecting that chain is also important when you determine your post sales journey. And when we think about that, Polygon and Binance are the best currently. And it's not just because of the low fees, it's because of the overall universal nature of the products they offer.
In terms
Right.
of, so yeah, let's say you select the layer one, then you have to select some other technology partners, right, to figure out how to launch your NFT. And then you need to have some marketing partners to help you with marketing. So, what are your recommendations for those?
I would answer this with Edward because again he has done this as much as I have done it. So since we have mostly worked around gaming and utility based NFT drops more than art based NFT drops. Our go-to agencies have always been aggregators and launchpads. And since we are a launchpad ourselves, we occasionally collaborate with a lot of aggregators, and we have a joint sale wherein there's a combined utility for both the communities involved. And when it comes to finding these communities, I would say Twitter's the best space, because one look at an aggregator's profile, you would know what kind of support they're offering to their projects, what kind of user journey are they offering, what kind of community do they have that they have built around their launchpad. So gauging the community of a launchpad or an aggregator is a very important step when you go around selecting one.
Yeah, and I think the space has grown big enough now too, where we're seeing more organizations and individuals starting to focus on one specific branch of the NFT space. So it's important to evaluate what your marketing partner is going to bring to the table and whether or not it's a good fit for your particular project. Um, yeah, I'm a little biased. I just started working with Boardroom Ventures on a contract basis. So, of course, I'm going to recommend them over others right now. Um, but there are many groups and people who have been in the space for a while who understand the space and can point you in the right direction. And again, it just goes back to vetting and making sure that you're cooperating and partnering up with the right team, and that they are a good fit for your project. You might not want to necessarily partner with a team that is been known for getting artists at Sotheby's and Christie's. If you're a gaming project, that's not really what your focus is going to be on. So you want to bring in somebody from the gaming community, and if that's what your project is on. So, but there are some pretty well known and trusted organizations out there, but they're also do your research and check out their social media platforms and see who else they've partnered with and how successful they've been, um, and who they follow and who follows them, their social media accounts. I tell people a lot that's one of the big flags to look out for if a new project or a new influencer in the space um, seems to come out of nowhere and they've got 50,000 followers on Twitter, but then I look at their profile and it says you don't have any followers in common. I was like, okay, yeah, it's pretty unlikely that they've got 50,000 real people following them and none of them, I know in the space. So yeah, I think just doing your due diligence is the number one key there.
And let's talk about some funding. Alan, you have a question?
No, I was just that's a really interesting tip from Edward that it's hard for me to tell what who's got a lot of bots, but that's a pretty nice technique.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
Let's talk
yeah,
about
because I
funding. So when we I've been in venture capital, starting straight out of business school, and when Sony Pictures Entertainment, we had a $80 million fund. We were investing in media companies globally, and have kind of gone through fundraising. I ran an incubator for KPMG and many others. Subsequently, been on boards of directors of startups and advisors now in the crypto space. And when we've gone from like venture capital to crowdsourcing of the funding, it seemed that, these crowdfunding platforms were so great. The Kickstarter, the Indiegogo, you just put thing up and all of a sudden you get the project funded. But it started to cost more and more and more as time went on. And what we're seeing here with these NFT drops and just in general, there is a huge amount of cost associated with these crowdsourced deals or crowd managed, crowd formed, if you'd like, deals. What is the budget then one should have to contemplate, launching a game using NFTs, or this NFT drop that, Lennox has for his financial services company? What are the budgets that you're seeing to manage these things, these launches, and how long is the time frame for them?
Well, I don't have any specific numbers as far as budgets, but I do know that um, there's plenty of money in the space, and there's plenty of money coming into the space, especially from more traditional Web2 companies and projects. Uh, and yeah, as far as time frame, I would say it takes at least a good 6 months to really get a foothold in the space. Um, Unless you're lucky enough to get some of the influencers on your team who are well known for picking out good projects and for sharing information with their users that is beneficial to them. Um, yeah, unfortunately, there's no real simple answer, I don't think, to that. Otherwise, everyone would be doing it. It's it's just a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of um, building that foundation, and a lot of it may go unnoticed for the first few months. Just like one of the partners with Boardroom Venture that I'm helping right now with their growth, they've been kind of operating in stealth mode like the last 6 months, and they're going to relaunch their project, in the next month or two, and so they're basically starting over because their social media has been pretty dead and pretty quiet, so they've lost some of that traction. But on the plus side, they you can tell now that they've been around for a while, even if they've been quiet, and they've been building in the background. And so hopefully that will be enough to get that snowball rolling and to accumulate followers quickly.
But it's not free. It does
Definitely
cost.
not free.
I mean, you are
Yeah,
not free.
right,
These guys
right.
at the platforms are not free. So, like, well, so maybe you guys, being a platform, you guys have it like some suggestion of what the budget, like somebody coming into the space trying to do these things, what should they budget for?
If I have to add here, I would say there are two ways to do it. One is like, if you're a game, you come to us. If you're an art project or an open NFT project, you go to Edward. And the third way is you pretty much have something which is on the backline of a traditional marketing plan. You look at the total number of NFTs that you'd be minting in this current mint, and then you try and put a value appraisal to it, and you have a projection of your sale. And based on that projection, then you can reevaluate your position and see what kind of digital marketing initiative would suit you. It could be a community-led sale wherein you have your community across Discord and Twitter selling it for you actively. You could also offer a joint ownership or a co-ownership to an influencer wherein they own a certain assets predefined. So a certain influencer could have access to 5 mints of your NFT, which is predetermined upon public minting, and then that influencer is going out there and putting in the good word for you. So identifying the key, I would say, selling points across public communities, And by public communities, I just don't mean the social media handles which are trending right now. It could be something as old as Reddit, because I've seen a lot of art-based NFT traction come out of Reddit. So having multiple communication points to your customers and investing in a proper digital marketing strategy would also be quite beneficial, because the best part about the NFT industry and the Web3 industry as a whole is that it allows us, a lot of tech professionals, to easily migrate using the existing tools and knowledge that we have. So if agencies or launchpad are out of question, I do believe that there could be a crowd-led initiative to it. Just that we are not using any crowdfunding tools here. We are straight away using digital marketing tools and doing something on the lines of a lead generation campaign, wherein leads are nothing but just direct NFT sales.
So you would just take a percentage of these drops, or how would you get paid?
Uh, then determining the budget for this digital marketing or activities for selling would be, I would say, it's a very personal question that would vary from every project, because every project would have a different set of utility, a different set of marketing audience. So if you're marketing something which is as luxurious as a Dolce Gabbana dress, then probably you'd have an upward marketing budget for and every customer you acquire. But let's say if you're selling an NFT worth $1, then your customer acquisition budget needs to be quite low. So it's all around the utility your NFT has to offer and the base price you keep. But if I have to just throw a number, but I wouldn't say that, take this number for now. I've been fine by, I would say, allocating 10% of my sales towards my customer acquisition cost for the first mint.
And then are there any other costs other than customer acquisition costs that you should budget, out of your sales?
Sure. A support system. So creating a positive or a complete after sales ecosystem is also quite essential. You need to budget in your Discord mods, your community leaders, and you need to budget in for at least 2 or 3 years of activities. And these would be promotional events, Twitter spaces, giveaways, because you do need to keep your community active once you have done your sale. So it all, most of it revolves around a bigger question: what is the utility your NFT is bringing? And then having a complete, I would say, annual marketing plan around that utility would be the best way forward. But if you have to just isolate the sales component out of it, uh, focusing on customer acquisition and post sales would be fine.
Yeah, and I think we're not getting to it. We guys have given us such great roadmap, and I'm so grateful, and I hope the Academy members are as well. But what we're not getting at is like, okay, to run that Discord channel, we need $2,500 a month for 6 months. It's a minimum outlay. Who's paying for this? Is it the launch pad? Is it the project? Is there like minimum? I have to spend 50,000 to launch this, and I pay 10%, to all these other activities? Is there some sort of a blend between cash and token percentage or value percentage that happens in these deals?
Um, so the cash and token percentage would be very subjective to every deal that gets formed here. But to put it out very, very bluntly, all of these costs would need to be calculated in your initial tokenomics before you mint. And not having these costs would eventually mean that your project would become a short-sighted one, or and could end quite earlier than it should have. And
You
most
should
of the
also,
costs, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you should also build in a little bit of a runway just in case the market takes another downturn and your token may not have the value that you hoped for at the beginning. So yeah, it's just like, any other business, you should prepare for a worst case scenario and be able to weather that.
This business developed literally overnight because one can, mint the NFTs, have a sale, and basically raise some funding to run the projects. And as I think you guys pointed out, there's a bunch of projects like that have done just that. And now they're trying to sort of form the business around it, which is normal. I mean, startups raise money, they form a business. It's not really any different than startup financing. But at the end of the day, many of these projects have not, gotten their marketing ready because they don't have data necessarily about all the people in that mint and all the people interested in the project, etc. So they need to set that up front. So it needs to be set up, as we discussed, through a marketing funnel that's more traditional than just Web3. But then also you have to budget for some out-of-pocket expenses, and then you have to realize that you're going to be giving a fairly high percentage of this to other parties that are helping you get to that fundraising. So it's kind of like crowdfunding in my mind, ended up being, because you had to hire my marketing agency. Here you're doing, influencer marketing, etc. So it's very similar to crowdfunding versus venture capital raises, which were basically you just have to call a lot of people, get in front of them, travel to them, pitch to them several times, and then hope for the best. Here you get your community, you launch your project, but you still have to budget for some out-of-pocket expenses on the marketing side, and you have to do a lot of work before you actually do the drop. So all the cost of human capital cost of getting that done up front. Does that kind of summarize it, or you guys have something you want to tell us that's added to that?
I think that is a good summary, and I think plenty of projects and companies in the space, also still go to VCs and raise funding more traditional way in addition to launching a token or an NFT project.
Thank you, guys. That was really great. I've learned a lot, and I really appreciate all the information.